Dear students, I hope you will be fine. I'm here, Mohammad Tajammul Khan, lecturer in botany, University of Education, Lahore. Today, we will discuss a topic that is related to our subject, that is plant systematic anatomy and development. The course code of this subject is BOTN 1112. So today we will discuss morphological character of plants. In our previous lecture, we discussed the morphological character of plants related to roots and stem. Today, in this lecture, we discuss the morphological character of leaf and flower. So, let's we start. So very briefly, we'd find leaf as these are the green flat structure borne on stem or on the branches, and majorly leaf arise from nodes, and they specialize to perform photosynthesis. So the major characteristics of leaf are as follows. As the leaf is thin, expanded and green structure, then the green color of leaf is due to the presence of chlorophyll pigments. It is exogenous in origin, as it mostly originate from a bud, that is an exogenous structure, and it is borne on the stem at node and originate from a axillary bud. Here, this is one is an axillary bud. Is often present in axil of each leaf, so it has a very limited growth and it does not possess apical bud or regular growing points. So when we discuss about the part of leaf, particularly leaf consists of leaf base. It is a part of leaf attached to the stem or branch is known as leaf base. So it may assume different shapes in different plants. In some plants, the leaf blade may become swollen, which is called pulvinous, as shown in this figure. Here we have a pulvinous. Similarly, in monocots, the leaf base expands into a sheath or covering, and the stem partially or completely covered by this sheath. So here these are the sheath, this is the main stem, and these are the sheath around this main stem. This is the main stem. So leaves of some plant possesses a pair of lateral outgrowth at the base. Here, this is the base. On either side of axillary bud. These outgrowths are called as stipules. So these are called as, these are called as stipules, and such leaves are called stipulate leaves. So leaves without stipules are called as exstipulate, and stipules are usually green. The main function of stipules are to protect the bud and carry out photosynthesis. Here we have again the part of typical flower, petiole or mesopodium. So petiole is the part of leaf connecting the lamina with the branch or stem. So this one is the petiole. Leaves that possesses petiole are called as petiolate, and the leaves without petiole are called as sessile or non-petiolate. So petiole is usually cylindrical, but may be hollow or flattened. Function of petiole is to raise the leaf to expose it to more light and air to help in conduction. The next part of leaf is lamina. It is the largest and the most important green and flattened part of leaf. So these all are the lamina. It plays a vital role in photosynthesis, exchange of gas, and transpiration. So leaf is known as dorsally ventral when its ventral surface is structurally different from dorsal surface. So the leaves having both similar surface are called as isobilateral. Such leaves are found in monocot plants. So majorly in dicot plants we have a dorsiventral leaves, and in monocot plants we have isobilateral leaves. Next is leaf venation. The arrangement of veins and veinlets in the lamina is known as venation. Here you observe these are the venations. These are the venations. These are the venations. So the veins are in fact conducting strands of lamina. They are concerned with the conduction of water, mineral salts, and food, and form the structural framework of the you can say of the lamina. So these all are veins or leaf venation. So we have different types of venation. One is reticulate venation. So first we discuss this. When the veins and the veinlets form a network, here it forms a network. This is all the network. These are all the networks. So when veins form a network, we call it as reticulate venation. Here a midrib is centrally placed, and veins and veinlets remain distributed laterally. Here it is found in dicotyledon plants. On the basis of mid veins, we classify plant into two forms, one in unicostate and other one is multicostate. So the unicostate with a single midrib, for example in case of mango, and unicostate with two or more prominent veins. Here we have different veins in Ziziphus. So it may be convergent or may be divergent. So the next is parallelvenation. It is a type of venation in which veins in lamina run almost parallel to one another. Here you clearly observed they are parallel to each other. These are the parallel venations. So it is found commonly in monocotyledon plants. So it is of following two types. One is unicostate and the other is multicostate. Unicostate mostly present in banana, and the multicostate is present in grass and rice. So we have two types of leaf. One is simple leaf, the other one is compound leaf. Simple leaves are those in which single leaf blade or lamina is present. So here we have a simple leaf in which single leaf or lamina is present. So this one is simple leaf. So example of simple leaf is mango, papaya, or pipal. The other one is compound leaf. In compound leaf, or the compound leaf are those in which the leaf blade or lamina is divided into a segments known as leaflets. So here this is not a leaf, this is a leaflet or leaf segment. Here this is a leaf segment, this is a leaflet, this is a leaflet, this is a leaflet. So they all are combined to form a leaf, and such type of leaf we called it as compound leaf. Or leaflet is also called as pinnae. So the leaflets never bear axillary bud in their axils in compound leaf. So compound leaf further classify into various forms. First we discuss about the pinnately compound leaf. In this type of leaflets are present laterally on a common axis called rachis, which represents the midrib of the leaf, and there are four kind of pinnately compound leaf as. So here we have a midrib, this one is a midrib, this one is a midrib, these are the pinnae or leaflets, and this central midrib we called it as rachis. So further classify into unipinnate, bipinnate, tripinnate, and decompound. So a leaf at its tip having a single leaflet or pinnae, we called it as unipariate, and if it possesses two pinnae, then we call it as bipinnate, and if it possesses three pinnae or leaflet, then we call it a tripinnate. Further, the next compound leaf is permeately compound leaf. In this compound leaf, all the leaflets of the permeately compound leaf are attached at a common point. So here this one is a common point, and from this common point all the leaflets are attached. So such type of leaf we call it as permeate compound leaf, and the example of this is finger of palms. The permeately compound leaves is further have 5 types. One is unifoliate, bifoliate, trifoliate, quadrifoliate, and multifoliate. In unifoliate, it possesses single leaflet. In bifoliate, it possesses 2. In trifoliate, it possesses 3 leaflets or pinnae, and so on. In quadriate, it possesses 4, and in multifoliate, it possesses more than 4 leaflets or pinnae. So this is about permeately compound leaves. So now we discuss about the phyllotaxy. Phyllotaxy basically is the arrangement of leaf on stem or branches is called phyllotaxy. So we have various type of phyllotaxy. First of all, we discuss about alternate phyllotaxy. In alternate phyllotaxy, the leaf are arranged, or it arises from at each node, and leaves arise laterally on stem or branches. So here we have an example of alternate leaves. This one, So here this is the node and leaf present here. Similarly here, here, here and here. So at each node a single leaf is produced, and it produced in an alternate method. One leaf produced here, the other one is produced here, the next one produced here, the next one produced here. So it produced in an alternate method. So the example of alternate leaf is sunflower. The next is opposite phyllotaxy. In this type, two leaves arise from each node in opposite direction. Here we have the example of opposite leaves. This and this is also. So the opposite phyllotaxy is further classified into two forms. One is decussate and the other one is superposed. Decussate, when one pair of leaf is placed at right angle to the next or lower pair of leaf. Here this leaf is present in this direction and the upper leaf is present at the right angle of this. So when this arrangement occurs, it is called as decussate, opposite phyllotaxy. While in superposed, in this type, all pairs of leaf on the stem are arranged one above the other, in like here, 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 here. So this pattern reflects superposed opposite phyllotaxy. The next is whorled or verticillate phyllotaxy. In this type, more than two leaves arises from each node and form a whorl around it. The example of this is nerium. Here, three leaves originate from a single node. Similarly, this and similarly this. Next is leaf spines. These are the modification of leaves. In some xerophytic plants, like Opuntia, the entire leaf gets modified into a small, stiff, pointed structure called as spine to check transpiration. So sometimes only a part of leaf that appear as a stipule get modified into a spine to protect plants from grazing animal. So the example is Ziziphus and Acacia. The next modification is leaf tendrils. If certain plant having very weak stem, entire leaf or a part of it gets modified into a elongated and cylindrical, coiled, wiry, sensitive structure known as tendrils. So these tendrils helps the plant to climb up on some surface. So in this, if the entire leaf convert itself into a tendril, then we call it as tendrillary. And in some plants, only a terminal leaflets convert into a tendril, and in few plants, leaf apex modified into a tendril. Sometimes, in few plants, the terminal three leaflet get modified into three stiff, curved and pointed hooks which look like nail. So they cling to bark of tree and help the plant for climbing. So sometimes at the tip of the leaf becomes modified and convert into a structure that appear to be a hook and plant use it to grip up some surface for sport and for climbing. So here we have a leaf that is called as phyllodes. So in this, the petiole become green and leaf-like and perform photosynthesis. This is known as phyllodes. The example of this is acacia, in which the normal leaf is bipinnately compound and fall as soon. So the petiole gets modified into a phyllodes. This is a xerophytic adaptation to reduce transpiration. So now we start the second part of our of this lecture, that is flower. So we start the flower. So simply, the flower is defined as a highly modified and specialized shoot, means for sexual reproduction or for the production of fruit and seed, is called plant. So we distributed plant into three words. One is calyx, the other one is corolla, third one is stamen, the fourth one is carpel. So first one is calyx, in which we discuss sepals. Then we have corolla, in which we discuss only petals. These are the petals. And then we have a third word that relates to stamens, in which we discuss about anther and filament, here this one. And the third one is carpel, in which we discuss about stigma, style and ovary. So here flower is have three major parts. One is pedicel. So this one is pedicel. Then we have thalamus. This one is thalamus. And in that we have whorls. Whorl 1, whorl number 2, whorl number 3, and this one is whorl number 4. So first of all, what is pedicel? Stalk of flower. Simply, I indicated you in last slide. Stalk of flower is called whorl. Flower with pedicel are called petiolate, and flower without pedicel is called sessile. The next one is thalamus, also called as a receptacle or torus of flower. So the terminal end of pedicel is swollen or expanded, here to indicate that. So the terminal end of pedicel is swollen or expanded to form the flower axis. So it has 4 nodes or 3 internodes. For each node, a whorl of modified leaves is produced that become converted into sepal, petals, stamens and carpel. So simply we have flower. If a flower normally arises in the axil of a small leaf-like structure, that is called as bract. Flower with bracts are called bracteate, and those without bracts are called as ebracteate. So if flower from the axis where the flower is produced, it produces a leaf-like structures, then these leaf-like structures are called as bracts. Similarly, a flower is said to be complete when all the four floral whorls are present. It means the first whorl, second whorl, third whorl and fourth whorl. All four whorl is present, then the flower is called as incomplete flower. And if flower is said to be incomplete when any one of the four whorl of sepal, petals, stamens and carpel is absent, then we call it as incomplete flower. And if flower have both whorls, whorl number 3 and whorl number 4, that related to androecium and gynoecium, if both are present, then we call that flower is hermaphrodite or bisexual. And if any of the androecium or gynoecium or whorl number 3 or whorl number 4 is absent, then we call it as unisexual. So unisexual may be a male or staminate when only androecium is present, and unisexual may be female and petolate when only gynoecium is present. So these are the various terms that we use for flower during their identification or during their morphological explanation or description. A flower is said to be neuter when both the essential floral whorls are absent. If both androecium and gynoecium are absent, then we called that flower as neuter. So now come towards the symmetry, where we classify flower into three symmetry. The first symmetry is actinomorphic, in which flower can be divided into two equal halves along any of the radii or from any of their part. Here we divide the plant into any halves, equal to halves, into any angle. So such type of symmetry we call it as actinomorphic. And if the flower is said to be zygomorphic when it can be divided into two equal halves only in one plane. Only in one plane, when we divide the flower into two equal halves, then we called such type of symmetry as zygomorphic. And if the flower is said to be asymmetrical, it means when it cannot be divided into two equal halves from any plane, then we call it as asymmetry. This flower can't be divided into two equal halves from any plane. So now here we have insertions of floral leaves with respect to their position. First of all, we have a hypogynous. So first of all, we discuss about hypogynous. In hypogynous, in this case, the thalamus is convex or cunical. Here, this one, and the gynoecium develop on the top of the thalamus. This is the top of thalamus. But stamens, petals and sepals are born on the side of gynoecium. So these all three characters are originate or rise below this gynoecium. So gynoecium is superior, this one is superior, so superior, but all the parts are inferior. The example of hypogynous is brassica. The next one is perigynous. In this stage, or in this case, the thalamus is flattened. Here we have the thalamus that is flattened or disc-like. The gynoecium is present in the center. This all indicates thalamus, and the gynoecium is present in the center of the disc, but the stamens, petals and sepals are attached on the rim of disc. So this is the thalamus, this is the disc, this is the thalamus, and at the tip of this disc it bears stamens, petals and sepals. In some cases the gynoecium become more or less cup shaped. So here this is it appears to be a cup shaped due to upward growth of its margin. So now carpel develop on the bottom of the cup. In this case gynoecium is superior, but all other parts are inferior. So this referred as perigynous. The next is epigynous. In this case the thalamus grows upward here like this, this is also example of perigynous. This is both example of perigynous. So the epigynous, in this case the thalamus grows upward and surrounds the ovary. So this is the ovary that is surrounded by thalamus. It fuses with ovary. Therefore the sepal, petals and stamens inserted at the top of the thalamus or top of the ovary. Now the gynoecium in this case is inferior, but all other parts are superior. So the example of epigynous is apple or pear. Now we discuss the first whorl of flower, that is calyx. So the outermost whorl of flower is called calyx. Individual members of the whorl are green and are called as sepals. So we have sepals, and sepal occurs in two forms. One is free, the other one is fused. If all the sepals are free individually, then we call such sepals are polysepalous, and if all the sepals fuse together, then we call it as gamosepalous. Similarly, sepals may further classify into three forms: caducous, deciduous and persistent. Caducous sepals fall off as soon as the flower opens. When the flower opens itself, all the sepals fall off. In deciduous, sepals survive till the withering of the petals. And in persistent, sepals remain even after fruit formation. So the functions of sepal is, the first function is it provides protection to flower in bud condition. It performs the function of photosynthesis. It helps the insects to attract towards flower by petaloid sepals, and the hairy calyx help in dispersal of fruit. The next whorl of flower is corolla. It is larger in size and inner to calyx. Individual members of the whorl are called as petals, which are colored and scented. Similarly, as sepals, petal classified as free, in which petals, every petal free itself, or so it referred as polypetalous. And if the petals, all petals of flower fuse together, then it is called as gamopetalous. The functions of petals are, first of all, attraction. These bright colors attracts birds and insects for pollination. A tubular gamopetalous corolla can store nectar for attraction, and the petals provide protection of inner essential whorls that related to reproductive part of flower. Here we have a permeate. When calyx and corolla, they collectively called as perianth, and when one didn't differentiate between calyx and corolla, then we called it as perianth. So the individual member of perianth is referred as tepal. Similarly, as sepal and petal, tepal is further classified into a polyphylous when all the tepals free from each other, and when all petals fuse together, they are known as gamophilous. If tepals are green, then we call it as sepaloid, and if petals possesses some color, then we call it as petaloid. The function of tepals, as both as calyx and corolla, protects the essential whorl in bud condition. A sepaloid or perianth perform photosynthesis. A petaloid perianth attracts insects for pollination. So here we have the estivation. The mode of arrangement of sepals and petal in flower is called estivation. First of all, the first estivation is called as valvate. In this, the margin of sepals in this flower diagram as indicate, the margin of sepals or petals remain close contact or lie close to each other but do not overlap. So here all the sepals here close together, but they does not overlap or attach to each other. So in such condition, the arrangement of sepal and petals is referred as valvate. The next one is twisted estivation. In this estivation, one margin is inward and overlapped, the other margin is outward and overlap the margin of adjacent, as similar as in this case, as you observed in this case, or as in this case. So this type of estivation or arrangement of petals, we call it as twisted. The next one is imbricate. In this case, the margin of sepals and petals overlap each other. So when the margin of sepal petals overlap each other, we refer it as imbricate, as in this case or in this case. The next is vexillary. In this case, corolla is butterfly shaped and has 5 petals as observed in this diagram and also in this diagram. Outermost is largest one. This one is largest one. That is called as standard and vexillium. After that, 2 lateral wings, this one and this one. These are the 2 lateral wings, and 2 smaller nearly fused board shaped, this one. Sepal is called as keel or carina. So in this vexillary case, we have 5 petals. One is the outermost one, this one, that is called as vexillium. Then this one lateral, these are called as wings, and the lowest fused petals, that is called as carina or you can keel. So here we have the summary of all these estivations: valvate, twisted, imbricate and maxillary. Now we discuss about the reproductive part of flower. First we discuss about the androecium. So the male reproductive whorl made up of stamens, also called as microsporophyll. Stamens are of two forms. One is free, the other one is fused. If the stamens are free, then we call it as polyandrous, and if the stamens are fused together, then we call it as cohesion. So stamen consists of two parts. One is filament, the other one is anther. So the stalk of stamen with anther at its tip, and if filament fuse and anther are free, it is called as adelphi. So we have three forms. So the second part is anther, the upper swollen fertile part of stamen that is present at the tip of filament, that is called as anther. So if anther are fused and filaments remain free, then the condition is called as syngeny. Similarly, anther consists of two lobes. One is called as monothecious, the other one is called as diathecious. Each lobe having a chamber or locule called pollen sacs, microsporangia, in which pollen grain or microspores are produced. Now we discuss about the female reproductive whorl, that is gynoecium or pistil. So the female reproductive whorl made up of carpels, also called as megasporophyll. So it is also further classified into two forms. If the carpel fuse together, then we call it as syncarpus, and if the carpel are free, then we call it as apocarpus. So here we have the figure of apocarpus and syncarpus. So the gynoecium may be a monocarpellary, that refers that the gynoecium consists of a single carpel, as an example showed in P. Similarly, the next is bicarpellary, in which the gynoecium consists of two carpels, and these carpels may be free or fused. The next one is tricarpellary, in which the gynoecium consists of three carpels. So the next one is polycarpellary, in which the gynoecium consists of many free or fused carpels. And the other two descriptive terms of gynoecium is apocarpus and syncarpus. In apocarpus, the gynoecium has more than one free carpel, and in syncarpus, the gynoecium consists of more than one fused carpel. So the gynoecium majorly consists of three parts. One is stigma, the other one is style, and ovary, or carpel consists of three parts. So stigma, it is the terminal part of carpel, rough and sticky, and it's used for pollination, receive pollen grain for pollination. So this one is a stigma. The next one is style, narrow elongated thread-like structure connecting stigma with the ovary. So this long tube is style. The lower swollen portion is referred as ovary, the basal swollen part having chamber called as locule. So ovary may be unilocular, bilocular, trilocular. If it consists of two carpels or two chambers, then we call it as bilocular. If three, then we call it as trilocular, and if four, then we call it tetralocular, and if five, then we call it as pentalocular. So each locule contain ovules on a fertile tissue, and ovule attached to ovary through a specific structure that is called as placenta. So here we have placement in the ovary. So there are different types of placenta. First is marginal. In this case, In this case, the placenta is formed along the fused margin of ovary, and the gynoecium is monocarpellary or polycarpellary, and it may be apocarpous. The next is axile. In this case, the gynoecium is polycarpellary and syncarpous. The fused margins of carpel grow inward in the center of ovary. Thus, the compound ovary become multilocular. The marginal placenta of all the carpel fuses in the center to form a central axis. So the ovules are attached on this central axis. The example of axile is potato. The next one is parietal. In this case, the ovary is compound and unilocular. The fused margin of carpels swell up to form placenta. Ovules attach on it sometimes, and fused margin of the carpels grow inward to form incomplete septa. It divides each ovary into number of incomplete compartments. So the two ovules are born on the surface of these septa-like chambers. So the placenta of Brassica is parietal. It has bicarpellary ovary. This compound ovary becomes bilocular due to the formation of false septa. The next one is free central. In this case, the ovary is compound and unilocular, having a single chamber. The ovules are born on the central axis, arising from the base of the ovary. They are not attached on the fused margin. The example of this is primrose. The last one is basal. Single ovule is born at the base of unilocular ovary. It has a single ovule attached to the base of the ovary. The example of basal placenta is polygonal. So here we have the references that we use from different sources in the making of this lecture. This is all about for this lecture. I hope you get understand related to the morphological character of leaf and flower. May Allah protect us from pandemic coronavirus. Stay safe and healthy. Allah Hafiz.